Om Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 23 to 27.
Gatasangasya muktasya jnanavasthitachetasah yajñāyācharatah karma samagram praviliyate brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaivate gantavyam brahma karma samadhina daivameva pare yajñam yoginah paryupasate brahmagnava pare yajñam yajñenaivopajuhvati Shrotradirindriyanyanye samyamagnishu juhvati Shabdadin vishayananye indriyagnishu juhvati Sarvani indriyakarmani pranakarmani chapare Atma samyama yogadnau juhvate jnana dipite.
Last class, I ended with what was liberal learning. See, it is something that you need to incorporate it in all aspects of your life. If you practice this, you will learn properly and you'll be successful in whatever you do. So, liberal learning or liberal living. So, liberal living means that you are constantly in the present. See, it starts right from school and university. The children need to be trained in this thought. The problem is everybody is result oriented. Everybody is looking at what is the use of this, what is the use of that. The more you become result oriented, you lose liberal living. And how the education system has become corrupted. A great author, Cardinal Newman, writes a book called Idea of a University. He didn't write the book now, he wrote the book decades before. And decades before, he's highlighted how the entire education system is gone because the whole focus is shift from liberal education to servile education. Servile education is when a person learns in order to make use of it. Liberal education is learning for the sake of learning. You're interested in mathematics, you learn mathematics. What is the use? I don't know. You're interested in law, you study law. What is the use? I don't know. You understand? You learn because you're interested in it. Learning for the sake of learning. Similarly, when you come to Vedanta, you learn Vedanta because you're interested in it. You learn that. What is the use of Vedanta? I don't know. So there's a person, a brilliant fellow, one of my friends, my colleagues. Uh, we studied together in the academy, Vedanta Academy in India. The brilliant fellow. So we used to get visitors coming in uh, and staying for 1 week or something, during that course. We were doing the 3-year course, and visitors used to come into the academy to just stay for a while. And the visitors are all nosy. They were just nosy. They are not really interested in the subject. They're just coming as tourists to see what is happening. And they're nosy. And they see these students around and they go and ask them questions. So one of my friends was there. So this visitor came and asked my friend, he said, "Hey, I don't know what you guys are doing. You guys are all so young. What is going to be your future like? Huh? You're in this ashram, learning this thing. What is your future going to be like?" Like I said, he was brilliant. He said, "You know what? This knowledge, this Vedanta, my future is so bright with this knowledge. It's so blindingly bright that I cannot see it. You understand? It's so bright. It's so blindingly bright. I can't see it. So the fellow quietly went away. He didn't ask any more questions. That's it. So what is the use? What do you want to give the use? It is useful in every aspect of life. You learn Vedanta, you learn life, you learn about everything. So the problem is that exactly the same thing Arjuna is facing in this Bhagavad Gita. He is also a person who is looking for usage. Krishna is a liberally educated person. So when you liberally educate yourself, you become well versed in that subject. You can clearly see a liberally educated doctor versus a servile educated doctor. You can see a liberally educated carpenter versus a servile educated carpenter. Any field you can see clearly. A fellow who is liberally educated will be thorough in that field. Similarly, with this knowledge, just get into this knowledge. If you're interested, just learn it thoroughly. And when you learn it thoroughly, automatically it'll help you in all aspects of your life. You'll be a different person. So the message which I gave last time was act not to achieve. See, what is liberal living? Liberal living is this: act not to achieve. So you're only interested in acting. It's my bounden duty to act and do my duties. I just do that. Not to achieve anything. Yes, of course, if I accomplish things, I'll accomplish things. Act not to achieve. Love. So you love others, not to be loved. Your interest is not to accumulate friends and people who love you. No. But my duty is to love. So love, not to be loved. So act, not to achieve. Love, not to be loved. Read, not to learn. Just read. Because you're interested in reading. Whether you learn or not is a future. It comes later. So if you approach it with this attitude, you will be successful in whatever you do. Let the goal remain with the goal. So don't bring the goal into the present. Goal is in the future. You'll get there. But stay in the present and do what is the right action. Right action automatically leads to success. So just focus on the right action. So we covered verse 22 and then we move on to the next verse, 23.
गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते.
One who is devoid of attachment, liberated, with mind established in knowledge, acting for yajna, sacrifice, his whole action is dissolved. See, he introduces it again, the whole concept of yajna. In fact, in the third chapter, this term is introduced for the first time. And now Krishna picks it up and he's going to elaborate on this. In fact, we'll start it this week and hopefully in the next class we'll be able to complete it. He gives 12 types of yajnas. Now, yajna literally is translated as sacrifice. So here he says you should act for yajna, for sacrifice. So, what is yajna? What is this sacrifice? It's an attitude that you incorporate in all your actions. See, broadly speaking, you could have an attitude of taking versus an attitude of giving. And this applies to everyone across all actions. So even right now, when I'm teaching, I could have either of these two attitudes. I can have an attitude of taking or an attitude of giving. I may be giving knowledge, but mentally I'm thinking, oh, I should take something from these people. If I had the thought, then I'm selfish, self-centered. Whereas, same thing with you. When you're listening to in this class, what is your attitude? Are you taking or giving? Of course, you're taking in knowledge. We're not talking about that. But while you're taking in knowledge, what is your thought? Can I be of some service to others? With this knowledge, can I be of some service to others? Can I help others? So, wherever you are, whether you are a father or a son, whether you're a mother or a daughter, doesn't matter what role you're playing. Could be a CEO, you could be a employee. What is that attitude? So attitude of yajna is the attitude of giving, an unselfish and a selfless attitude. The obligations that you do, the duties that you perform, has to be based on an unselfish attitude. See, that is the difference between duty and right. When you're doing your actions, you could do it as a duty or you could claim rights. I'm doing this. This is my right. So if your focus is on the rights, you become self-centered. If your focus is on duty, what can I do for others? You become unselfish. So the husband does his duties towards the wife and not claim rights. Vice versa, the wife does the duty to the husband, not claim rights. It's a different type of relationship. Whereas there's a constant expectation. You understand? You're expecting that person to react in a certain way, to respond in a certain way. Just leave the other person alone. You do what you ought to do. Whatever your duties are, you do it. So when you do that, the result he's saying is your whole action is dissolved, meaning your vasanas are exhausted. Because your focus is on helping others. In the famous book by Charles Dickens, Tale of Two Cities, there's a character in that book called Charles Darnay. Charles Darnay is in France. He belongs to an aristocratic family. And this was the time during which the French Revolution broke out. All the aristocrats were beheaded, they were guillotined. And Charles Darnay belonged to one of the aristocratic families. And he was an exception because he treated the servants beautifully. He took care of them very well. So he was in England when the revolution broke out in France, and all these aristocrats were being caught. And the servants who were working for the aristocrats, they were also being caught. And when he heard the news that his servants were caught, he said, listen, they haven't done anything wrong. They were only serving. Why should they be caught? So he went back to France on his own accord, knowing very well he's in trouble, just to rescue those servants. You understand? Because they were caught for no fault of theirs. He just wanted to rescue them. So he went back to France. As soon as he went back to France, they caught him. They put him in prison and he was to be guillotined. You understand? So he didn't even care about his own welfare. He only wanted to rescue the servants. See, that is a selfless attitude, unselfish attitude. What can I do for others? And as the story goes, he was rescued in that book. Sidney Carton came and rescued him. So you will get help, but you do it in an unselfish way. So if you don't have thought about yourself, others will think about you. You will get help from others. If you're only thinking about yourself, nobody else is interested in you. You get help when you don't think about yourself. Meaning you help others. You help others, you will be helped. So duty means just doing what you ought to do. So that is yajna. The one who is devoid of attachment, liberated with mind established in knowledge. When you are established in knowledge, your mind is devoid of attachments. When you attach to something superior, you let go of the inferior. Inferior things you let go because your mind is on superior things. And now just hold on to that word yajna. That's all. In the next few weeks, we are holding on to that word. That beautiful word is what he's going to be explaining in the coming verses. Next verse.
ब्रह्मार्पणम् ब्रह्म हविः ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतम् ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यम् ब्रह्म कर्म समाधिना ब्रह्मार्पणम् ब्रह्म हविः ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतम् ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यम् ब्रह्म कर्म समाधिना.
Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi. The act of offering is Brahman. The oblation is Brahman. Offered by Brahman in the fire of Brahman. By seeing Brahman in action, Brahman verily shall be reached by him. To take out the word Brahman, there is nothing left in this verse. Brahman, 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 Brahman. It repeats again and again. Now, what is this verse? It's a very famous verse. Now, this verse is describing the various aspects of a fire ritual. The fire ritual is also called as yajna. So, what they have done ingeniously here is that they have taken that yajna fire ritual and connected it with the attitude of sacrifice. There's an ingenious presentation that they have done here. So, here in this verse, is describing the various parts of a fire ritual. So, what is the first thing? He says, act of offering. So, for that fire to grow, you have to offer fuel into the fire. You have to offer grains. You have to offer oil. So, that's what he's saying. The act of offering is Brahman. The oblation is Brahman, Havihi. Offered by Brahman, the priest is offering. The priest is Brahman. The fire, which is where it's being offered, is also Brahman. By seeing Brahman in action, Brahman verily shall be reached. So this whole fire ritual yajna is depicted as this world. That's all they're depicting, So just as the world is a projection of Brahman, that's all they're trying to communicate. The entire world is a projection of Brahman. The sun that you see is Brahman. The moon that you see is Brahman. The family that you see is Brahman. The road that you see is Brahman. Like that, everything in this world is Brahman, Brahman. Like that, he's saying in the ritual, everything is Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. It's like describing the dream. Every part of the dream is nothing but the waker's mind. Everything in the dream is the waker's mind. Good, bad, indifferent things in the dream is all the waker's mind. The waves, the foam, everything is nothing but the ocean. You understand? So the ocean says, all this is me and me alone. So this is the view from the absolute. When you are seeing the world, you don't see it like this. But a person who's gone beyond the world is seeing this. It's like the how Earth is viewed from space. When you see Earth from space, how does Earth look? Nice round globe, so smooth, so peaceful, so tranquil. And then you come into the Earth. What happens? Full of chaos, problems after problems after problems. So when you are in the world, relatively, when you see it, you see so many differences, so many problems, so many issues. But when you go beyond the world and see it from outer space, it's so smooth and nice. So exactly like that, he's describing. When he's describing from the absolute, he says everything is Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. Everything is that reality. Everything is so. Immediately you feel so detached. You feel so peaceful. The whole description. Now, what they are trying to do here is that Vyasa, who's the author of the Bhagavad Gita, so Vyasa, he is giving a subjective application of an objective ritual. Those days, this fire ritual was very popular. Even today, particularly in the Indian communities, you'll find they still do Havan for all the festivals, weddings, all these celebrations. But in the olden days, this was very popular. Now, You have to imagine the scene here. What is the scene here? In the battlefield, the two armies have assembled. Both the armies are waiting for Arjuna to recover and start fighting. They've all drawn their bow and they're ready to shoot. At that time, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Arjuna, perform a yajna. Ah. So what does it mean? Arjuna has to get down from the chariot, call the priest, put a fire there, light the fire in the middle of the battlefield, and perform the yajna. Ah. They'll call for an ambulance and take him to the mental hospital. You understand? If he does that, they'll straight away take him to the mental hospital. So it doesn't make sense in the middle of a battlefield when both armies are assembled and he has to start fighting. He's saying, perform yajna. How can you perform yajna? So obviously, what is meant here is not the physical yajna, not the actual ritual, but a subjective application of that objective ritual. So, how to practice yajna mentally, not physically. So, you may light the fire, you may offer physically, that is different, but you don't need to do it. That's all he's saying. You don't need to practice it physically, you can switch on to it mentally. And that's what we're going to see. The 12 types of yajna are subjective application of this objective ritual. So Vyasa has revolutionized the whole concept of yajna. He's giving a fresh take on yajna. Problem is, nobody studies the Bhagavad Gita. So some people are still caught up 5,000 years back. They're still doing the rituals mechanically. They have not updated, they have not upgraded. Mechanically, they keep doing the rituals without understanding the significance. Outdated, obsolete ideas. So here you see it's so fresh when Vyasa is presenting it. So the meaning of the word yajna is derived from the root yaj, which means worship or sacrifice. So it is the act of worship or devotion. You see that? Yajna, sacrifice, meaning an act of worship or devotion. There's another Sanskrit word also, which is exactly the same, called homa. Homa or homam. That also means sacrifice. Havan means oblation. So these rituals, what are the roles that these rituals play? What is the role of rituals? Now, rituals have been given in the scriptures because what happens is the masses can't understand the philosophy directly. So to understand the philosophy, one needs to be intellectual. Not many people are intellectual. Therefore, for the masses who are not intellectual, they've given these rituals. So through the rituals, the values are kept alive in the society. By performing the rituals, by going to the temple or the church or the mosque, the values are kept alive. Also, primarily people are emotional in nature. An emotional person needs an outlet to express their emotions. An intellectual person doesn't need an outlet. So the more emotional you are, the more rituals you need. You see that uh, in the national anthem plays. Huh? All the emotional fellows all get suddenly teary-eyed, very emotional. Even during the sports things, even Olympics and all, when they play the thing, or a national flag is raised, the national anthem is played, all weeping, they're all crying, very, very emotional. So yes, so an emotional person needs that to connect with the nation, to connect with the country. Whereas an intellectual person doesn't need it. The intellectual person is established in the thought of the country throughout the year. He doesn't need all these avenues. Directly is able to focus. So rituals are essential for an emotional person. The more emotional you are, the more you need. It's exactly like having children. Who needs children are those who are more emotional. Those who are less emotional can get away without having children. But if you have that feeling that I need to have my own child, is more emotional, then you need to have a child. So, thirdly, the moment you gain the knowledge, knowledge displaces rituals. Once you're established in the knowledge and you understand the significance, you don't need rituals. Sometimes people ask, those who attend these classes, they ask, Sir, should we go to the temple or not? It all depends upon your personality makeup. You don't have to force yourself to go. You feel it is inspiring you, you go. But it's not necessary. It depends on where your mind is. If you're able to keep the mind on the higher without going to a temple, you don't need a temple. Your house becomes a temple. Wherever you are, it becomes a temple. So see that what is the role of rituals? Threefold. It keeps values alive in the society. Secondly, it is essential to the extent you're emotional. Thirdly, until you gain knowledge, you need rituals. Once you gain knowledge, you don't need rituals. That's how it is structured in the Vedas. So the first part of the Vedas is called Veda Purva. Veda Purva means the beginning of the Veda. The Veda Purva consists of mantras, brahmanas, and aranyakas. Mantras means chanting. Brahmanas is rituals, you know. So the chanting, the rituals, all that comes in the first portion of the Vedas, Veda Purva. The second portion, the last portion of the Vedas is called Veda Anta, end of Vedas. And the last portion of the Vedas has the philosophy, the Upanishads. So first the rituals are given, but once you get to the Upanishads, you don't need the rituals. So see that the first portion of the Vedas, it's called Karma Kanda. See that Veda Purva, the beginning of the Veda, consists of these three mantras, brahmanas, aranyakas. It's called the Karma Kanda, the ritualistic portion, because those people can't understand the philosophy. But once they can understand the philosophy, then you come to the bottom part, Veda Anta, the end of the Veda, which is the Upanishads. You move on to the Jnana Kanda, the knowledge portion. Like when we study the Upanishads, we saw that clearly. They ridicule those people who are attached to these rituals, the Upanishads. So, to the extent you're intellectual, you grow out of the rituals. See, it is like a support until you are strong. See, suppose a person breaks their leg or breaks their arms and they're getting rehabilitated. They use a support. You understand? You use a crutch and you use a crutch until the arm is strong, until the leg is strong. Once it is strong, you won't use the crutch rest of your life. It becomes an inconvenience. Similarly, ritual is like a crutch that you use. So this fire ritual, in fact, why fire is such a popular symbol of God? Because of all the five elements, fire is the subtlest element that can be seen. So in the hierarchy of the elements, space is the subtlest, after space is air, then it is fire, then water, then earth. Earth is the grossest. Earth you can see, water you can see, fire you can see, air you can't see, space you can't see. So space and air, which are subtler than fire, you can't see. Fire is the subtlest element which can be seen. Therefore, fire is extremely popular. Virtually all religions use fire as a symbol. Even the Parsis, the Zoroastrians, who don't have any other idols, they still use the fire as a symbol. The yajna is that fire ritual. As I said, the word yajna means sacrifice. So when you implement this attitude of sacrifice, you become successful in whatever you do. You see an athlete, you see a sports person is successful because the person practices sacrifice. A surgeon is successful because a surgeon practices sacrifice. They have to leave aside some part of their life in order to dedicate themselves to their work. A student is successful because the student sacrifices. Anybody who is successful is because they have sacrificed. So the purpose of yajna, first thing is it gives you material prosperity. You become successful because you're implementing that attitude of sacrifice in your own field. I remember when I was in the merchant navy, 3 years, first 3 years, you need to be on the ship and then you get the qualification, then you'll be able to sit for the exams. So 3 years, I did not take a single day leave for 3 because I wanted to finish straight away so that I can appear for the exam. So it's like that. Sacrifice means you're not going home, you're not taking a break in that sense. You're straight away doing it. So first thing is material prosperity. Then second is yajna develops communal harmony. Yajna is that spirit of cooperative endeavor. We come together in that spirit, setting aside all our differences. In fact, interestingly, if you don't do it voluntarily, nature forces you. If there is no cooperation in a country or in a society for a long period of time, what happens is there is floods, there is hurricanes, there is war. Then what happens? Immediately people unite. Even COVID, during the time of COVID, so much of unity. So nature brings a calamity And when there's a calamity, people unite. But you don't need to wait for a calamity. If you have knowledge, if you have intellect, you'll apply that cooperation without a calamity. So, thirdly, yajna helps with spiritual enlightenment. You transcend your vasanas through sacrifice. That's why in the performance of the ritual, when the fire ritual is concluded, the fire dies down and what remains is ash. And the participants, they take the ash and apply it in 3 stripes on their forehead. The significance of that 3 stripes is you're transcending the 3 gunas. One stripe is for tamas, second rajas, third sattva. I'm not sure whether Adidas does it for that reason. Huh? You got to go and ask the founders why are they putting 3 stripes. Tell them this reasoning. Okay, so the 3 stripes, once beyond tamas, beyond rajas, beyond sattva. So the 3 purposes. See that. What are the purpose of yajna? Material prosperity, because you develop that sacrificial attitude. Then communal spirit, because you have that cooperative endeavor. You're ready to drop your ego to serve a cause. And then enlightenment, because you are transcending your vasanas. You're reducing your vasanas. Now, the actual fire ritual, just to give you all an idea, for those who are not familiar with this actual ritual, the ritual is very simple. There is a brick trough that is made, a brick trough that is made, and there are wooden sticks that are put inside the trough. Oil is poured, and the fire is lit. There are priests who sit around this. It's called a kund. That brick trough is called a kund. So the priests, they sit around this kund and they keep offering. And as they are offering into the fire shoots up. See, when you put anything into the fire, what happens? The fire shoots up. When the fire shoots up, the belief is that Agni, the fire god, is giving his blessings. So all the participants, they bow down to that. Swaha, the priest pours it into the fire shoots up, and you bow down, you bow down, you bow down, so it's going on constantly. So there are 2 aspects you've got to remember, because I'll connect this later. So what are the 2 ingredients, 2 constituents of this yajna, of the fire ritual? First is the offering. Some fuel is offered into the fire. So first is the offering. Second is the kindling. When it is offered, the fire is kindled. Remember these 2 things, offering and kindling, because to convert any action into yajna, you need to have an offering and a kindling. If you can demonstrate an offering and kindling in any action, you have converted that action into yajna. And that's what we're going to see in the 12 yajnas, in the 12 types of rituals. This verse, incidentally, is also used as a prayer before meals. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. I'm feeling hungry. Understand? So whenever you chant it, it's chanted before the meals. So what is the significance of that? Why is this ritual of chanting a prayer before meals? The significance is that when you are partaking of food, it is a sensual enjoyment. It's one form of sensual enjoyment. So when you are going through a sensual enjoyment, you are reminding yourself of Brahman. The idea is not to get involved in the sense enjoyment. You go through that enjoyment, but you don't get involved in it. Remember, I'm doing all this to get back to Brahman. And you can use it also as a form of gratitude. But the spiritual significance is to maintain a full time awareness of Brahman. In and through all your actions during the day, you're maintaining the thought of Brahman constantly. That's the significance of this dot on the forehead called tilak. So, why is that? I wear this dot on the forehead. The idea behind that is that during the day, see, this comes from the olden times. So, during the day, people used to do their study and reflection at home to get to Brahman for spiritual growth. But then they can't be at home all the time. They have other duties to perform. So when they go out, they wear this dot, this mark on the forehead. When you see another person, the first thing that strikes you is that mark on the forehead. So you are reminding the other person the purpose in their life is not to get involved in the duties, but to seek God. Similarly, when that person wears a dot, it reminds you, you got to seek God, not get involved in the world. See, doctors and nurses, they wear that. They see each other. They remind themselves purpose in life is not to get involved in this, but to get there. It changes the complexion of the whole thing. You become so detached in whatever you do. So you use all experiences to get to Brahman. It's a reminder to get to that higher state of perfection. So you see the image of that yajna of a fire ritual for those who are not familiar with it. You see that image where you'll see the priests which are sat around the fire and the yajaman, is the person, the householder who conducts the ritual. He's the person who's in charge of the ritual. And then he invites the priest to come around and the priest pour the fuel into the fire. So first is the offering and then the kindling of the fire. So offering and then kindling. Okay. So with that, we start the first yajna. Of the 12 yajnas, we start the first yajna. In fact, two yajnas they give in this verse 25.
दैवमेवापरे यज्ञम् योगिनः पर्युपासते ब्रह्माज्ञावपरे यज्ञम् यज्ञेनैवोपजुह्वति दैवमेवापरे यज्ञम् योगिनः पर्युपासते ब्रह्माज्ञावपरे यज्ञम् यज्ञेनैवोपजुह्वति.
Some yogis perform sacrifice to gods. Others means other yogis perform sacrifice by offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. The verses are all poetical. You need to interpret it. You understand? You've got to go beyond that poetry to understand the philosophy. Now, just to give you an overall idea of the 12 yajnas, and then we'll go specifically to this verse. Now, the 12 yajnas, what are they based on? They are based on the traffic of life. And what is the traffic of life? Are the 3 R's: receipt, reaction, response. There's a receipt of stimuli from the world, reaction within, and response back to the world. This is the traffic of life. The traffic is flowing constantly. You're receiving, you're reacting, responding. Receiving, reacting, responding. You may not be conscious of it, but it's happening all the time. So these 12 types of actions they have chosen from these 3, from the receipt, from the reaction, and from the response. So what should be your approach to life? Your approach to life should be to regulate the receipt. So whatever you're receiving from the world, you've got to regulate it, number 1. Number 2, the reaction that is going on within you, you've got to control that. And third is you've got to monitor the response that you're giving back to the world. So the whatever happiness that you experience is based on these 3 transactions. So if the receipt, reaction, response are done properly, the result is you'll be happy. If you're not happy, it means you're going wrong in one of these 3, either receipt of stimuli or reaction or response. One of these 3 are going wrong. So 12 yajnas, you see the diagram of the 12 yajnas. The start with the darker circle which is on the left side. So there you see the world. That darker circle is the world. Okay. So from the world, the stimuli is going out. So you're taking the stimuli from the world. And then what you're doing, you're perceiving it. That is the first circle you see, perception. Then perception, next is restraint. Then yoga of self-control. Then wealth, austerity, what you give back to the world. You can give back wealth, you can give back austerity, or yoga practices, study and wisdom. Then prana and apana. Prana and apana means inhalation, exhalation. Then 11 is inner strength. 12 is external activity. And what happens? The external activity is the response which you give back to the world. So that's why the circle is going in this direction. So you're taking in stimuli from the world, you're reacting with it, and you're responding back to the world. Receipt, reaction, response. Receipt, reaction, response. One full circle you come, it's 12 yajnas. And in between, you see the 2 lines there, limited ideal and absolute ideal, which is what this verse is covering. So this verse is covering 2 yajnas. So the numbers in this diagram is the number of the yajnas. So limited ideal, absolute ideal is covered in this verse. And then the other ones we'll see when we get to those verses. Don't worry, we'll be showing this diagram constantly so that you'll get familiar with it. Finally, you'll get fed up with it, but it doesn't matter. We'll show it, so that it gets ingrained in you. You don't want to do anything to do with why. Any word starting with why, I don't want to hear. You get so fed up with yajna. So what is this first yajna and the second yajna? Two yajnas are given in this verse. So first yajna, he says, is the first line. Some yogis perform sacrifice to gods. See, what they mean by gods. Gods means limited ideals, limited goals. See, for example, a person may have a goal to eradicate hunger in the world. Hmm? Another person may have a goal for animal welfare. He wants to do something for the welfare of animals or to eradicate corruption. So these kind of goals, these kind of ideals is indicated by the word gods. So you sacrifice, put in your effort to achieve those goals, achieve those noble ideals that you set for yourself. A person says, I want to find a cure for cancer. He dedicates himself or herself to finding that cure. It's a noble ideal. That's all captured by the word gods. So you're sacrificing. What are you sacrificing? You're sacrificing all your equipments, your body, mind, intellect, in order to accomplish that ideal, that goal. And if you do it with that spirit of yajna, with that unselfish attitude, the result is you'll be happy. So you are sacrificing your body, mind, intellect. Sacrificing means what? You're dedicating your body, mind, intellect to achieve that goal. And if you work in that spirit, result is you'll be happy. You create happiness for you. See, there are people who work hard and they keep complaining and complaining, and they're stressed and stressed and stressed. Is because they don't have that attitude of sacrifice. It's a self-centered attitude. So if you act with a self-centered attitude, you will not be able to act constantly. There will be constant problems and problems you'll face. So that's the first yajna. First yajna is that you're working for an ideal in the world. Second yajna is absolute ideal. You're working for something beyond this world. So what is beyond the world? There's only one thing beyond the world, which is Brahman. So absolute ideal means working towards achieving self-realization to get to Brahman. So you have the choice of limited ideals in the world, which are plenty of goals you can achieve in the world, or something beyond the world, which is Brahman, which is absolute ideal. So that's what he's saying. So you're converting your actions into worship. Whatever actions you're doing, you're converting that into a remembrance of Brahman, whether it is a limited ideal or an absolute ideal. We're just starting with this. Now, slowly, when we get into it and you pick up the momentum of this thought, then you'll see slowly the picture becomes clearer and clearer. Okay, I'll stop here. I'll leave you all with this thought. and then we'll continue. Now, next week, there is no class because on next Thursday, there's that public lecture. So the team wanted some time for preparing. So next Wednesday, there is no class, and then we'll continue the following week. In fact, next Thursday also there's no class because next Thursday is the public lecture. So next Wednesday and Thursday, both days, there's no class. Okay. Any questions?
Hari Om, Bhaskarji.
Hari Om, Vijaya.
Relating to the dot that you spoke about, some men wear a red dot.
No, that is different. The color of the dot depends upon, say, Vaishnavites, Shaivites. Sometimes it's a vertical line, horizontal line, or it could be a dot. That depends on what uh, particular faith you follow within Hinduism. But the general significance is what I'm explaining. So it doesn't matter whatever color it is or whatever shape or something is, any mark on the forehead. The general significance is this.
The other one query is that, ash, like the white one, reminds one ash to ash, like in the Christian faith, that's eventually your fate, that you're going to end up as ash, as a reminder.
They're very pessimistic. Very pessimistic. So that's not the significance. Significance is optimistic. See, when you eradicate vasanas, you reach the self, you become God, you become that supreme being. It's a positive thing. First thing in the morning, you put that, you want to remind yourself of death. Huh? I'm going to die. First thing you want to remind. So it's not that, it's the destruction of the vasanas. It is death, but death of the vasanas and birth of your real being, of the real self.
Thank you, Bhaskarji.